You know, I usually stay out of these conversations, but with Caitlin Clark, I can't stay silent anymore.
But my first inclination is to say that this person is not a female. Firstly, because this was our...
Hello and welcome back, my dear viewers. I hope you're all doing great. Today, I have another brand new WNBA update that I think you're really going to enjoy, so make sure you stay with me until the very end. And if you're a true Caitlin Clark fan, drop CC100 Pretentant in the comments, so I know you're part of the community. Now, without wasting any more time, let's dive straight into today's story. What happens when one of basketball's greatest legends sees the WNBA's brightest young star being treated unfairly through questionable tactics? You're about to find out, because Michael Jordan's explosive remarks about Brittney Griner's actions toward Caitlin Clark have completely shaken the basketball world. But first, let me ask you something. Have you ever seen an elite athlete singled out the way Caitlin Clark has been throughout her career? After what he reportedly witnessed during the Connecticut Sun game, Michael Jordan's opinion of the WNBA completely changed. This is the part of Michael Jordan's perspective that Brittney Griner finds most damaging. In many ways, Michael Jordan sees himself in Caitlin Clark's situation. During the 1980s, Jordan was the best player in a league filled with extraordinary talent, and because many opponents couldn't match his incredible basketball IQ, they often tried to intimidate him physically. However, Michael Jordan emphasized one important point. This is where Brittney Griner's situation becomes especially interesting. Michael Jordan understands the difference between true championship-level competition and what he believes he witnessed involving Caitlin Clark. In his words, "It was the most cowardly act I've seen on a basketball court in decades." You heard that right. If you're enjoying this content, consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. Believe it or not, more than 90% of our viewers still haven't subscribed. It's completely free, takes only a second, and means the world to us. So, have you subscribed yet? If you have, thank you so much for your support. Now, let's get back to the video.
As far as I understand, it's mostly women without penises, but I leave that to you to figure it. Well, it's actually a little unclear because this Brittney Griner, a lot of people think she's a dude. But in any event, Brittney Griner is a black basketball player who some people think is a man.
The video shows a glimpse of what life was like for WNBA star Brittney Griner inside Russian prison. She spent her days carrying fabric because she was too tall to sit at the sewing tables where other prisoners worked. Her bed was too small for her 6'9" frame. Griner was arrested back in February for traveling with hashish oil, a substance banned in Russia. She was sentenced to 9 years in prison in August. Her release part of a prisoner swap for Victor Bout, a convicted Russian army.
When Michael Jordan watched the footage of Brittney Griner's altercation with Caitlin Clark, he reportedly reacted quickly and strongly. Having competed against legendary enforcers like Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer, he understood better than almost anyone in basketball history what true competitive intensity looked like. Even so, he believed Brittney Griner's actions went beyond the standards of sportsmanship and competitive integrity. But pay close attention to what Michael Jordan said about the timing of that shove. According to the narrative, this is the part Brittney Griner finds most damaging. The basketball legend raised a point that many fans had been thinking about, yet few people with his level of fame had been willing to say publicly. Taking cheap shots at a player when they're completely vulnerable and not looking isn't the same as playing championship-level defense. Michael Jordan pointed out that his era was considered one of the most physically demanding periods in NBA history. When you had a disagreement with someone, you faced them head-on like a warrior, rather than waiting for their back to be turned before acting like a predator. And that, according to the narrative, is what angered Michael Jordan the most about Brittney Griner's actions. At this point, the criticism from Michael Jordan is presented as deeply damaging to Brittney Griner's reputation. Brittney Griner's response after the incident also reportedly frustrated the veteran Boston Celtics player. Rather than expressing regret or acknowledging that she may have gone too far, Brittney Griner claimed that the media and fans were judging her unfairly. "Damned if I do, damned if I don't," she said. But after hearing those remarks, Michael Jordan reportedly became even more frustrated. According to the narrative, Michael Jordan believes that true champions and legendary competitors always accept full responsibility for their actions, especially when those actions could place another player at risk. He said Brittney Griner's response reminded him of athletes who, deep down, knew they couldn't compete at the highest level. As a result, they looked for other questionable ways to influence the game. In other words, the narrative claims that Michael Jordan portrayed Brittney Griner as a player who relied on unethical tactics instead of matching superior talent with basketball ability. This is where Michael Jordan's analysis becomes especially interesting and highlights what he sees in Caitlin Clark. He reportedly recognizes the same rare qualities that helped make him one of the greatest basketball players in history: exceptional basketball IQ, remarkable clutch shooting ability, and, above all, a unique talent for making everyone around her better. But as someone who respects the principles of basketball, he also sees something that genuinely concerns him. Instead of focusing entirely on reaching her incredible potential, this gifted young athlete is constantly forced to watch out for cheap shots and questionable tactics. According to Michael Jordan, Brittney Griner's approach represents everything that is wrong with players who choose to target Caitlin Clark instead of pushing themselves to match her outstanding skill or outwork her through dedication and preparation. He described it as a troubling pattern that she is physically targeted when she is at her most vulnerable. According to the narrative, Michael Jordan called this the worst kind of basketball competition he had ever seen. Because of those remarks, the entire basketball world began talking about Michael Jordan's controversial comments. He reportedly compared Caitlin Clark's situation to his own experiences with physical play during his career. However, he was quick to point out what makes Caitlin Clark's circumstances different and puts them into perspective. He noted that Caitlin Clark, at just 22 years old, has already faced more adversity than many athletes experience throughout their entire careers. She's doing all of this while carrying the burden of becoming the undisputed face of women's basketball. But you have to hear what Michael Jordan reportedly said about Brittney Griner's future in the WNBA, because it's spreading rapidly across social media. According to the narrative, Michael Jordan believes that if the WNBA allows players like Brittney Griner to go after its biggest stars without consequences, it sends the message that average players can stay relevant through questionable tactics instead of improving their basketball skills. He argued that this sets a dangerous precedent that could discourage the very athletes who are helping elevate the league. Michael Jordan even suggested that the league's failure to properly respond to these incidents sends the wrong message to young fans watching at home. In his view, the WNBA should inspire young athletes through skill, dedication, and sportsmanship, rather than showing them how to target vulnerable opponents. Perhaps the most significant part of Michael Jordan's statement was his prediction about Caitlin Clark's future despite these challenges. He said Caitlin Clark has been strengthened by adversity, and that every hard foul, questionable play, and attempt to intimidate her only fuels her determination to prove herself through basketball talent alone. Michael Jordan compared Caitlin Clark's experience to his own rookie season, when opponents constantly tested him physically. The difference, he explained, is that Caitlin Clark is facing all of this while carrying the extraordinary media attention and expectations that come with being one of the WNBA's most recognizable stars. That's why Michael Jordan's support for Caitlin Clark is portrayed as especially meaningful. According to the narrative, he isn't just defending a gifted athlete, he's defending what he considers the true essence of basketball. In his eyes, Caitlin Clark represents the qualities that make the game special: talent, vision, composure, and competitiveness. At the same time, he believes certain actions by players such as Brittney Griner have the potential to damage the sport's image. The basketball legend reportedly stated that the WNBA has reached a turning point. In his opinion, the league has two paths forward: either protect and promote its best players, allowing stars like Caitlin Clark to maximize their potential and raise the league's profile, or continue allowing less skilled players to rely on questionable tactics to stay relevant. According to the narrative, Michael Jordan's message was unmistakable. The league's future depends on the choice it makes. But this is the question everyone is asking. Will the WNBA take Michael Jordan's reported concerns about protecting Caitlin Clark seriously, or will it continue allowing players like Brittney Griner to use questionable tactics that some believe hurt the league's reputation? Let's keep the discussion going in the comments below. What are your thoughts on Michael Jordan's reported criticism of Brittney Griner's actions? Was he too harsh, or do you believe his comments were justified? More importantly, do you think the WNBA will eventually take stronger steps to protect its biggest stars? Share your opinion in the comments below. I read every single one of them. If you enjoy basketball analysis like this that cuts through the noise and examines the bigger picture, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. According to the narrative, Michael Jordan's remarks could ultimately shape how Caitlin Clark is treated in the WNBA. The basketball world is watching closely, and as this story continues to develop, one thing is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The discussion is no longer centered on a single game, one hard foul, or one controversial moment. It's about the future of women's basketball, the values the league wants to uphold, and the way its biggest stars are treated when the spotlight shines brightest. Few athletes have entered the WNBA with the level of expectations placed on Caitlin Clark. Millions of people watch every game she plays. Every move she makes is analyzed from every angle. Every achievement is celebrated, and every setback becomes a headline. That's what comes with being one of the biggest names in basketball today. Meanwhile, veteran players across the league continue competing at the highest level, bringing years of experience, toughness, and pride to every game. The WNBA's challenge is making sure that fierce competition never crosses the line into unnecessary or dangerous play. Fans want intensity, they want rivalries, they want genuine basketball, but they also expect consistency, fairness, and respect. That's why Michael Jordan's reported remarks have sparked such widespread debate, because he knows exactly what it feels like to perform under enormous pressure. Throughout his legendary career, Michael Jordan faced some of the toughest opponents and fiercest defenders basketball has ever seen. However, his message wasn't simply about physical toughness. It was about protecting the integrity of the game and making sure basketball skill, not controversy, remains the center of attention. There's no denying that Michael Jordan's reported comments have fueled discussion, whether you completely agree with his perspective or believe the situation has been exaggerated. Fans, analysts, former players, and media personalities continue debating what should happen when the league's biggest stars become the focus of physical play. Should officials enforce the rules more strictly? Should the league hand out tougher penalties, or is this simply part of playing professional basketball? Everyone seems to have a different opinion. Caitlin Clark's response, however, has been clear. Rather than allowing controversy, physical defense, or criticism to define her career, she has remained focused on basketball. She continues to compete, show up every game, and demonstrate why so many people believe she represents the future of the sport. Her resilience is one of the biggest reasons her supporters continue to stand behind her. As a result, the WNBA is receiving more attention than ever before. Social media discussions continue to grow every day. Arenas are packed, television ratings are rising, and new fans are discovering women's basketball for the first time. Incidents like these don't just affect a single player or team. They also influence how the league is viewed around the world. As the season moves forward, every game becomes even more significant. Every Caitlin Clark appearance will be closely watched. Every controversial play will be analyzed. Every officiating decision will be questioned. And every game will add another chapter to what has become one of the most talked about seasons in WNBA history. Now, here's the biggest question. Do you think Michael Jordan's reported remarks accurately reflect the current state of the league? Do you believe the WNBA is doing enough to protect its stars while still allowing physical, competitive basketball? And what impact do you think this entire situation will have on Brittney Griner, Caitlin Clark, and the league moving forward? I genuinely want to hear what basketball fans around the world think. So be sure to share your thoughts in the comments below. Respectful discussion is what makes this community great, and your opinion could even be featured in a future video. If you enjoyed this breakdown or want more in-depth basketball analysis, exclusive updates, and the biggest stories involving the WNBA, NBA legends, and Caitlin Clark, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and never miss another upload. Basketball history is being written every night. Thank you for watching and for your incredible support. We'll be here to cover the next chapter, and it could be even more significant than this one. Until then, leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe, turn on all notifications, and click the video on your screen. We'll see you in the next one.